Hello Blender heads, in this video we're gonna create a little bottle like this, which is usually used for example for CBD oils or for some medications or maybe for eye drops or something. I'm gonna show you a few different techniques how you can get this kind of product visualization done really easily and quickly. This video is mainly for beginners. It is uncut, real time. You can follow along. You will see the keys I press and the mouse buttons and all of that. And I will try to remember to also say everything out loud and explain what I'm doing and why. All right, so I'm using Blender 4.2, which is currently in alpha, as you can see here, but you can even use an older version to follow along. Nothing special from Blender 4 here. We are not going to use the default cube. So let's think about this little bottle for a second. We're going to think about the glass part at the bottom first. There's different ways you can model this. You can start with a circle, extrude that up, and then mesh or model the mesh. You can start with a cylinder and model the mesh. You can do the classical sub-D modeling workflow. Or you can just model the outside shape of that bottle and then use a modifier to spin that around and even give it some thickness. And that is what we're going to do today. So we're just going to hit Shift-A, curve, Bezier curve, and that's one that gives us this thing, which is laying flat on the ground. Now if you go into front view using keyboard the numpad 1, we can see that it's laying flat. If we go into edit mode and we just take the whole thing and go rotate 90, we're going to move it upright. Okay, and we're also going to move it in edit mode with GX over, and I'm going to bring this point up here to a C value of 0. Okay, so in here you can also, when you have a vertex selected, you can specify the exact location of a vertex. Of course, you can always hit like G to grab a point, or let's grab this vertex, move it around. So with G and use the mouse, or we can set the exact location here. So if I want this to be exactly on a C0, I can do it in here. So this thing we want to be rotated straight up. So like this. And then, oops, and then here we're gonna model our bottle. I'm not using a reference picture today. I've shown in the previous video with the bottle with the water splash, how to bring in a reference image. I'm just gonna create something here. Okay, like this, and then I need a point in the middle, so I can select these 2 points, right click subdivide, and that gives me a point in the middle. And I'm gonna bring that up like this, maybe, what do I wanna do? So something like this, then maybe again, subdivide, bring that in. Okay, and select this, put it like that. Okay, is this a nice outer shape? Oh, okay, this is not good. But if we look at it from front view, yeah, might be a good bottle. Of course, down here, I think I want a little radius here, and then my curve has to go all the way here. On the top here, where the opening is, I'm just gonna have it open-ended, just leave it like this. Okay, so let's go back into edit mode. When we select this one, hit extrude X, move it over here. Now we can go, okay, X should be 0, this should be 0, 0, 0, yep. Then we take these, or we rotate this around like that. And we can select the control points and hit SC0 to have them perfectly horizontal. So we're scaling these 2 points on the C to be 0, which brings them to a perfectly horizontal point. Now this one has to go up a little, and I also need to subdivide this again. Bring this one up here. Again, select these as C0. And then I have to scale this one in. Maybe select this as X0 to have it perfectly straight this way. Bring it up, and that should give us a little rounded bottom here. Maybe this is a bit much. And this needs to be scaled down also. So this would be our shape. Then again, if we look at it from this side, this is not what we want. We want this to be perfectly flat on the XC plane. So I'm going into edit mode again, A to select everything, SY0, that should bring everything, again, SY0, enter. That should put everything onto this plane. Yeah, that looks okay. Now, did we move? Yeah, of course, now we moved this way a little bit. So let's bring it to a y of 0, and then we have this curve perfectly on this plane. And now all we need to do to create the bottle is use a modifier to spin this around, and then we can actually see our 3D object. And the cool thing about this way of modeling it is that it's pretty easy to change the shape later, because all we have to go is do is go into the edit mode of this curve, then change the curve, and then the spin modifier fixes or takes care of the 3D object. So let's do that. Go into the modifiers tab, add modifier, and to spin it around, we use the screw modifier. Okay, so we can see here, yes, we're spinning it around. Why is it called screw modifier? Because it also has a screw value, which is a 0 by default. And you also have the angle 360 degrees. This is fine. With the screw, you can even do stuff like this. And that's why it's called screw modifier. But of course, we don't want that. We just want this to be spun around like that. Now we can see a few things here. First of all, the resolution is not very high. We have all these jagged edges here. Also, our curve doesn't have much resolution. So let's take care of both of these things. First of all, the steps here, that's the resolution going around in our 360 degree circle. Of course, we want a lot more. For viewport and render, I'm just gonna select both and go 64. Okay, now the curve, this curve here that we're using, also has a resolution in Blender. And that resolution is how many steps should a Blender interpolate between two control points. So between these 2 points, at the moment, if we go over here, we get 12 subdivisions. And we can, okay, it actually looks pretty decent, but I think we should turn this up also because 12 is not a lot. So let's set this to, who cares, 64 as well. And render that the render resolution, if that's set to 0, it just uses this 64. So now we have a very high resolution kind of thing. Of course, this does not look like a little dropper bottle for whatever eye drops or oils or whatever. So let's go back into front view, go back into edit mode of our curve. And then I'm just going to select this GX and bring it in to make it taller, like that, less fat. Okay, edit mode. Let's bring this up a little, and this is really the cool thing about this workflow using the curves, because I can now change the shape of just the single curve, and I get a nice 3D bottle. Okay, this I don't like really. This should be smoother like this. Okay, so this looks pretty good to me. And actually the bottle is done, except for the fact that it is infinitely thin. And if we want to assign a glass material to this, of course this is not going to look correct because we need thickness. And we can do that with another modifier. So screw is done, add modifier, search, we can do solidify. And then we have some thickness. And with the thickness here, we can define the thickness. Now, by default, if the thickness goes up, in this case, it's going inwards, which is good because we wanted to model the outside shape, the outer wall. So our curve is out here and the thickness is going inwards. Also, since I'm not using a reference picture, These are not real world dimensions now because my entire object is now 3.4 meters tall, and a little bottle like this is maybe 5 centimeters tall. Okay, but like I said, for this tutorial, I'm just talking about like different ways of modeling things to get a really quick product visualization of a really simple little dropper bottle, eyedropper bottle. All right, so this is done. Now we can use the same technique to get that rubbery squishy part on top, but maybe we do that later. Next, let's do the plastic part. And I want this plastic piece up here to have sort of ridges in it where it's easier for you to grip it while you maybe unscrew it or something. Now, how do we do that? We can't use the same technique with the outer curve and then the screw modifier. So another technique to get something like that would be to model just the part that you want, like one piece with one of the indentations, and then use modifiers again to create the rest. Just model one thing. So compared to, let me just show you what else you would probably usually do. You go to mesh circle. Hold on. My cursor is up here, so Shift C to bring everything back to down here. Shift A, mesh circle. And now we have a mesh circle, which we can move up here. Go into edit mode, scale it in, and extrude C. So this would be like how you would usually model this. And then you would like model the indentations and all of that. But then if you want to change something later, then you have to go into every single one of these faces and like maybe change the depth of the indentation or something. So this is a bit, of course it works, but it's if you want to change some stuff later, if you want to do more non-destructive, maybe even parametric modeling, then this is not such a good solution. Better solution is to model just one facet of this whole thing and then use modifiers, like I said. So let's do that. Shift A, let's add a plane. So we get this plane down here. Let's go into edit mode with tab, RX90. This is the plane. Now in edit mode, I'm bringing it up here. The origin point of this thing is still down here because I'm moving stuff in edit mode. So we're gonna scale X, bring that in. Hold on a second, let me undo that again. GC, so that I'm staying in the middle. Now scale X, bring that in. I just want one. How am I doing this? How big should this be? Well, this is a bit tall. So scale C, maybe the plastic piece is like this tall. Let's bring it down here. And then I want to have some indentation, so I'm gonna go Control R to do a loop cut. I'm cutting along this edge here. Click, click again. So now I have a cut down the middle. And then I'm gonna Control R and I'm gonna scroll up on my mouse wheel to get two, put those in. And then I'm scaling on the C, SZ, I'll bring that out, maybe like this. Again, Control R2, click, scale C, bring those out too. I hope pretty soon you're gonna see what I'm doing here. And I want to move these two back a little to get that indentation. Okay, how can I do that? If I move those back, then these squares are not flat anymore. So I'm going to cut through here, I think. I could also cut this way. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm gonna use the knife tool, K for the knife tool. And the knife tool always has this nice magnet option where it snaps to vertices. So let's cut from here to here, hit enter. Again, knife tool, cut from here to here, enter. Now let's do the same thing on the bottom. We can do, how did I do it? Okay, so K we can cut from here to here and then just keep going to here, enter. And now if I go in edit mode, if I select this vertex and this vertex, I can go G, Y and bring those back. And then we get this. Yeah, I think this is nice looking. Okay, now I want a whole bunch of these and I want them to go around in a circle. How do we do that? So to get a whole bunch of these, we can just go add a modifier, the array modifier. And you can see right away we get relative offset factor x is 1, which means we get 2 or 3 or how many we want. And they're offset on the x-axis by the size of the object, which means factor 1. You can also do constant offset, and then now they're 1 meter apart. But by using this, they're all stuck to each other. And also we can enable merge, which means that the vertices here where they're meeting, where this object and this object, the copy, where they meet down here, these vertices are being merged, which is sort of a merge by distance operation, which you can always do in Blender. This is built into the array modifier. So this gives us really very nice and clean mesh. Okay, how many do we want? Well, we need as many as we need to go around in a circle. So how do we go around a circle? Well, let's go Shift A, curve, circle, which gives us this circle. We can move that up here and maybe go into edit mode and scale it down to be roughly this size of our bottle. Okay, so this is the circle. Now we can go back here and we can tell the array modifier for the count. We don't want a fixed count. We want to fit the curve. So we tell Blender, hey, give us as many as we need to fill the length of a curve. Which curve? Well, the circle. So let's pick the circle. So this is now the right amount that we need to go around this circle. Anyway, it's still not going around this circle. Why is that? Well, first of all, let's bring this forward. So GY, let's bring it forward to about here where the circle is. Now I don't know where the start and the end of the circle is, but let's see. And now we have to bend this around the circle. And there's another modifier for that. So add modifier again, search, and it's called curve. Curve modifier, which bends our mesh around or along a curve. Again, which curve? Well, we have to pick the curve. Again, we pick our circle. So now what's happening here? Well, it's doing something. It's bending it around the circle, but it's all in the middle now. And this is where the relationship between the origin point, which is here, and the circle and the actual mesh inside of the object comes into play. And now we have to play with this a little. So let's hit Alt-G to bring the origin point back into the center. And now this looks pretty good already. However, this is now backwards. First of all, we're on the outside, right? Our indentations are going to the outside. And then I think I want them to be smaller to get more. So let's go back into edit mode. Look at this whole thing from the front view again. Select everything with A, scale X to just make them smaller. Go back out, and we get this. Here we have this we have to ignore for a second. We just want to look at this. What does it look like? Also, I want this to go inwards. So there's a few ways you can do this. One way is to either go into edit mode and rotate this on the set axis by 180 degrees. So now they're going inwards. You could also move the vertices, or you could go into edit mode of the circle and rotate the vertices of the circle, because they also have a direction, and you could like flip the circle inside out. That would also work. but we're already done here. So this is what we get. Of course, we have our ugly part in the front here, which is not very nice. So let's go into edit mode here again, bring this in even further, do this really small. Maybe, what about if we take those, we extrude those on the X to get a little bit of another, a few faces in here to get a little bit of spacing. Yeah, I think that looks better. Okay, now, next thing I want to do is I want to take my circle, look at it from the top view. Obviously the start and the end is up here, so I want to rotate the circle 180 degrees. So RC 180. So now our ugly part is back here, and then we can even go and try and fix this little ugly part. Why does this exist? Well, Blender gives us at least the amount that we need to fill the entire circle on our array modifier, because we said fit curve and picked that circle. So we get that amount. I don't know what the amount is. Let's try it, fixed count. So let's turn this up. Okay, so this would be that amount, 31, but that's not quite it. So Blender gives us 32 to fill the circle. And of course, with this way, it's not enough. And 32, it's one too many. So now to fix this, we have to play with the size of the circle or with the mesh. I haven't figured out an easier way until now, so maybe if you know a better way to do this, let me know in the comment down below. I'm switching this back to fit circle because then I don't have to think about the amount. And now I'm just going to take my circle, which is here, and play with the size of it. So if I make it bigger, you can see I'm moving the one that's actually too many out. And then when I move even further, I get another one because we're fitting the circle. So what I want to do is I want to make this look right. So maybe like this. Okay. Cool. Again, why is it sticking? Why is it going out now? This is weird. Let's go into edit mode again. Everything, so I guess we flipped our normals again. So RC 180. Are they going in now? Inwards? Yes. Okay, so this would be our plastic part. This is quite big, I have to say. So let's bring it down on the C a little. Let's move it down. And this way we get this. Now let's go back into edit mode. Let's take these vertices on the bottom here. Extrude Y and bring a little lip back here. Okay, so that we have this closed off here. And then on the top, I actually think that these are way too far back. So GY, bring them forward. Okay. I think I still want more. This doesn't look right. I still want more. So I'm taking this again, SX, to make it thinner, like that. Okay, now on top, we also need to close this off. So we're gonna select these, extrude Y, bring that in, like that. And then we will finish this off once we have our little rubber part up here. For now, I think this is good. Now, one thing we can also add, we have the array, we have the curve modifier. We could also add a subdivision, a surface modifier. And if we increase the value here, we get a softer piece of plastic. Then we go shade smooth, and then we have this. Okay, this looks pretty nice. Now, what is going on here? Well, this is again our part at the end, where the the array modifier. We have overlapping pieces. We have to play with our circle again because I changed the geometry. So let's see what we can do. Let's make it look halfway decent. Man, I wish I knew how to do this correctly. Well, that's probably the advantage of actually modeling the mesh and not using the modifiers. Yeah. Anyways, this would be our plastic piece now. And then on top, you know what? I think I just want to move this over here, switch this to rendered view, and start thinking about materials a little bit. My name is Chris and I make Blender videos here on YouTube. If you like what you see so far, don't forget to hit the like button. Consider subscribing, check out the channel. I have a whole bunch of other videos about geometry nodes and simulations in geometry nodes and all of that. If you want to see another video where I do basically an uncut video, real time follow along, I think it's 2.5 hours long, where I created a glass bottle with water droplets and liquid inside and bubbles in the liquid and all of that, and cap and label and water splashes. I will have a link to that up here somewhere and down in the description. Now back to the video. Okay, so I'm gonna go here, switch this to cycles, render, GPU. Whew, this is very dark. So we have one lamp in here. Let's switch that over to be an area light. Rotate, bring that back here, make it quite big. Let's look at it from the front view. Okay, then yeah, maybe bring that out and back. Then we're gonna shift another light area, GC, bring that up, increase that size quite big. And also the power to something that gives us an overall light from the top. Then we're gonna take this one, shift deduplicate it, bring it over here to give us a little bit of a light on the side here. Okay, I don't know. Then also, I think right away I'm going to shift a mesh plane, scale that up to give us a ground plane so we can look at our bottle and have nice shadows. And then let's quickly give this thing a new material, new glass, bring up a little material editor, shader. So we want to get rid of the principal, shift a shader glass. And I think usually these bottles are sort of like brown. So I want to give it some roughness. And then we can also play with the thickness. Maybe we should even bring this glass inwards. Yeah, let's do that. First of all, let's make this brown. So we go here, darker, dark brown glass bottle. Like that, maybe. Then let's go back into the curve, the Bezier curve, edit mode. And in here, obviously, we can have this. Move that up. Let's remove let's remove the ground plane so we can see what we're doing. Or let's deactivate the screw modifier. Yeah, so like this, and then we bring this over here. So that the glass bottle goes in a little. I don't know if these little bottles actually do that, but it might give us very nice reflections when we render this. So if we look at this, we should be able to see this a little. Yeah. Like that. So we have this in here. Yep, okay, cool. So this is the glass bottle. Now let's take care of the plastic on top here. This needs another material too. So go to the material, new, gives us a white principled. For plastic, we want to bring down the roughness to something like 0.1, maybe 0.2. So that it looks like white, shiny plastic. Okay. Actually, I think I want, let's take the circle and increase the size to make it bigger. And also I want to leave a little gap in here that usually gives you nice reflections or shadows. Then if we change the size again in the back, we have to make sure that this looks halfway okay. Like that. Okay. Is this a nice plastic material? White, shiny plastic, sure. Looks good to me. Let's maybe go to the world settings and bring down our overall light to a darker gray. Okay. This looks nice. Now in here, I think I'm gonna go into edit mode again, take these vertices and go extrude a C to bring those down. And with our subdivision surface modifier, we have this roundness going on here. So I think we need to Control R and bring another edge loop in here. So when this is rotated around, we have this edge and it's going inwards. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Now let's do the top piece, that rubbery thing that you squish to make the drops come out. I don't know what it's called. And like I said before, I'm going to do the same thing as I did down here with the glass bottle. I'm going to use a shape, a curve, to rotate that around. Easiest thing to do right now, I think, is just to hit Shift D, C, bring this up here, and use this to model front view, to model this thing. What does that look like? Maybe GX rotate 90 like that. Again, I'm gonna bring the X to a perfect 0, and then I can put this one up here. Could probably move these over, and I really don't need this down here. So I delete those vertices. So I'm only left with these control points. Do I even need this one? Not sure. Let's see. Let's do it like this. And then on top, usually those plastic thingies have a little bit of an indentation on top. So what is going on? Let's do this. Let's see, how can I do this? GX. Does it look like? Yeah, this actually looks pretty good. Get a little bit of an imperfection in there, like this. Okay. Now we also have a solidify modifier on here. Not sure if I need that. Let's get rid of it for now. And then also, of course, this whole thing should... How do I do this? I take these SX... No, not SX, GX. Bring those in to fit in there. So from top view, I don't like this point. I'm gonna X this vertex, fix this shape, GC, bring that up like that. And then I can go GX and make this as a small or as fat as I need it. And then I bring everything downwards. Okay, so this is probably a bit long. So let's bring this up. and bring the whole thing down. So I'm going to go object set origin to geometry. Nope. It should stay in the center. Now I go into edit mode, select all this is GC, bring that in there. And again, these two, GX to bring it in, again to give us a little bit of a shadow reflection-y thing here. Does that look right? Yeah, of course the material isn't right yet, but you know, some of these bottles have really short rubbery things for like getting single or two drops. Some of them have really long ones if you want to really get a lot of liquid into the pipette. Anyways, I'm just gonna eyeball this. Okay. What do we look like? Okay, GX like that. And for some reason, this isn't really very... This one is long. I think I need to go GC. Bring this up a little. Make it look like this. Now let's give this thing a nicer material. I don't want glass on here. I want a new material. I'm gonna call this little rubbery thing. Oh, I didn't give this a name. Plastic white. Okay, so here, the rubbery thing, really the easiest way to make rubber look good, anyway in cycles, is to use subsurface scattering. So this thing should be white, maybe not quite as white as the plastic, but we're gonna go to subsurface, switch this random walk is good. Wait, we turn this all the way up. And now this radius here gives us sort of the color. This would be the subsurface scattering default values for skin. Now I don't want skin, so I'm gonna set all of this to 1. Actually, I'm gonna set the blue. So if you think red, green, blue, I'm just gonna go red and green, which gives me yellow. And now with the scale, I should be able to bring some yellow in here and make this look like rubbery, plasticky thing with a bit of a yellow tint. Yep, I mean, this is a bit much now, but let's just go 1. So you can clearly see here, I hope it shows up in the YouTube recording, that this is white plastic and this is somehow different. The light gets scattered around in it, which is usually what this rubbery material does. Okay, so this is already pretty cool looking, I think. We also have some nice reflections here from our lights. Now all we need is a label. So let's think about the label situation. Now for the label, you always want UV unwrapped objects. You want to be able to take a label, like an image. Maybe your client gives you a PDF from what they sent to the printers to print the labels, and you take that and you put it onto a real mesh geometry, and that needs to be UV unwrapped. The UV coordinates are the mapping coordinates between your mesh and your image. So let's find some sort of label that we can put around here. Actually, now that I look at this, I think I'm gonna go in here, take those 2 points and bring them up a little like that, so that I have more area down here for a label. Yeah, like that. Maybe smooth this out a little like this by rotating it. And this looks pretty nice. So how do we get a UV unwrapped mesh? Now we can't work with our curve here because we don't have a UV unwrapped mesh this way. So really the easiest and quickest way is just to go Shift A, mesh, cylinder, go into edit mode, bring it up, scale it up, like adjust it so that it's on our object. And we can see here that we're only not quite straight, but anyways, we put it on here, make sure that it's on the outside. So our cylinder is bigger than my cylinder has a top and a bottom face. I don't want this. Delete the whole thing. Okay, let's do this again. Go in here, Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder. Let's go in here. I'm gonna set this to 64 to give me more detail, and I do not want to fill the caps. I want the cylinder to be open at the bottom and the top. Okay, like this. So again, in edit mode, choose C, maybe S, C, a little bit, S Shift C, which scales it on X and Y, not C. Bring it in like this. So now we have a cylinder that's going around our glass bottle. We can go right click, shade smooth, and that gives us a UV unwrapped mesh that we can now put an image onto. Okay, so in our shader editor, we give this thing a new material, call it label, okay, and now we need some sort of image to put on here. The finished blend files of this and all the other tutorials are available on my Patreon page at patreon.com/chrisp. Now let's jump back into the tutorial. Now I'm gonna open a browser. I'm gonna go to dribbble.com, dribble with 3 B's. You can go just to Google or whatever and look for something, or you can of course design your own or use the one that your client provided for you. But I'm just looking for a quick solution here. I'm gonna look for CBD oil label template, something like that. And let's see what we got. You can already see these are these kinds of bottles. They have very short rubbery things here, but this is exactly what I'm looking for. So this would be the label that we can put onto our bottle. Designer Katie Connor, shout out to her, not affiliated, don't know this person, but I think I'm gonna take this label and just use it for my tutorial. So easy way to just use it to see if it works in your design is to open up the image. So by, oh, you can even zoom in even more. Okay, cool. Why do I have a yellow dot here? Is that from, hold on, is this from the Power Toys? From the mouse marker? So click here, click again. Okay, this is nice. Now I'm gonna screenshot this. Just gonna cut this out. Okay, put it in the clipboard. And then I'm going to open Affinity Photo, paste this in from the clipboard, because what I want to do is I want to remove this green background. So I'm just going to use the magic wand. Let's see, 10%. Yeah, this looks right. However, this is now a picture, and I think I have to rasterize this first. I don't think I can delete. So let me get a pixel layer. Yeah, okay, now I have this selection. I hit delete, which gives me a transparent background on this awesome design. If you like the design and you like the designer, then check out the Dribbble and maybe purchase a design from this designer. I'm gonna save this now. Now I have a transparent background. Save this as a PNG, that gives me transparency. I want to include the sRGB and export this. Okay, I saved it as label.png. Now let's go back to Blender. And in here, inside of my shader editor, by the way, I've been talking about UV unwrapping before a whole lot. And you can go to the UV editing, and here you can see that my cylinder is UV unwrapped. So this is the cylinder in 3D space. And this is the UV map of this cylinder. So you can see each one of these segments is in the UV map. The UV map is always 2-dimensional because it's for mapping images to 3D objects. So let's go back to the shader editor. You're gonna select the principled BSDF, and then we could put in an image texture node and a mapping node and a texture coordinate node, or we just select this and hit Ctrl T and Blender does it all for us. We got a texture coordinate, we're gonna use the UVs, perfect. We get a mapping node, which we actually don't need here, but we get it anyway. So we could, for example, scale or rotate or whatever our texture coordinate system for the image texture. And on the image texture, we're just gonna go in and open what I just created. So I'm gonna go here, select my label.png, and then that gives us this. So if we look at it from the front, okay, this is probably, let's check out the UV, if this is correct. So this is our image, these are the UV coordinates. Of course, we're going all the way around the entire PNG, including all of the transparent stuff. This is perfectly fine for this little demo. Let's go back here. I want to look at the front, so I'm gonna take my object, my cylinder, rotate C, and just rotate it until, where do I have to go? Until the label is in the front. Like, so, let's put it like this. Now, of course, we get this black, which we don't want. We want this to be cut out where it's transparent. The image is a PNG. We made it transparent before in the photo editor. So all we need to do is connect the alpha channel from our PNG to the alpha channel of the principled BSDF. And here we go. We got the label stuck onto our little bottle and it looks really cool. We can also play with the roughness maybe a little bit, make it more reflective. Less roughness, like this. Okay, so this is quick and dirty, and it looks pretty cool, except that maybe, depending on the angle that we look at this, and depending on the glass material, we might want to model this little plastic piece inside the pipette. It's called pipette in German. I don't know. I think it's called pipette. Because if we look at this like this, we can see that there's nothing in it. So why don't we just go ahead and do this real quick. Let's just take this guy. Shift D, escape, rotate Y90, rotate Y180, okay. And cheesy, bring this down. Okay, go into edit mode, because this gives us this. We can go GX, bring this inwards. Let's hit a slash on the numpad, which brings us into this sort of local view, where we're just looking at one object. Because I want to model this like this, and then this one is way too big. Let's see. Also, I think I'm gonna subdivide those two to give me a new control point, which I can move in like this to make this look like something. I'm not going for perfection here. I just want to do something that looks, oh, we can already see it in there. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Cool. Let's hit the slash on the numpad again to go out. Is this long enough? No, it's not reaching the bottom. So we go back in here, cheesy, bring those down so that it goes all the way to the bottom. This is a bit far. Okay, and of course this thing needs a material. If we look at it in isolated view in here, what material does this have now? Oh, the rubber. Let's get rid of that. New pip. Let's just call it pip. And we're gonna do a glass material for this. We could use the principled, but Shift A shader glass. If it's just glass or very glass-like, I just like to use the actual glass shader. Okay, so what does this look like? Yeah, we have something in there now. Of course, we could also take care of the liquid in there. Maybe the liquid only goes up to here, but let's just assume that this is completely filled all the way to the top. We can't see the liquid, but this, I think this little detail in the middle here makes it look way more interesting. Now you can see that this is very quick and very easy to create a simple product visualization of a bottle like this, of a product like this. And we've used several different techniques here. We've used the curve and a screw modifier and solidify modifier method for the bottle. We used the model just one detail and then use an array modifier and a curve modifier and a subdivision modifier to create this. And we actually have some actual mesh in here for our label. Now I think this looks a little bit squished here. And we could fix this. Yeah, it's squished. Maybe let's try and fix it in, let's see what this looks like in material view from the front. We have some space up here and down here, so we could actually scale our UV on the left side here inwards to stretch it out a little so it doesn't look so squished. Okay, awesome. This is what our result looks like. I think it looks pretty cool. The finished blend file is available on my Patreon page. Don't forget to check out the other tutorial where I created the water bottle and the bubbles and the water droplets and the water splash and all of that. Link is down below and up there somewhere. Don't forget there is a comment section down below. So even if it's just to say hi, write a little message. I love to read all the comments. Maybe even if you have an idea for a different topic that you would like to see a similar tutorial on, write something. Thanks for watching. See you soon.